Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. So, have you ever wondered if the simplest, most mundane parts of our daily lives, I'm talking about the games we play with our friends, could actually hold the answers to the universe's grandest mysteries? Well, today we are taking a pretty unexpected journey. We're looking at a fascinating piece of writing that argues that everyday entertainment can actually reveal the absolute deepest spiritual truths of our reality. We're going to explore the ancient Chinese concept of the Tao, which translates to the way, and see how it operates, not just in secluded monasteries or, high-level philosophy, but literally right there at your kitchen table. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this, because I know it sounds like a totally ridiculous question at first glance. Can playing a game of poker actually lead to spiritual enlightenment? Normally, we completely separate our leisure activities from our spiritual or philosophical pursuits, right? But the source material we're exploring today challenges that separation entirely. It asks us to consider whether the exact same invisible laws that govern the cosmos are also, well, shuffling the deck in our Friday night card games. And honestly, by the time we finish this explainer, you might literally never look at a standard deck of playing cards the exact same way again. The author presents a really clear, kind of mind-blowing premise here. The Tao is present in absolutely everything. Because the Tao governs the evolution of all things, gaming and entertainment are fundamentally part of its realm. We're talking about playing a Chinese poker game called Struggling Upstream, playing mahjong, kicking a shuttlecock around, or even just kids playing hide-and-seek. The source suggests that these aren't just weekend distractions to kill time. No, they're actually a valid form of spiritual practice. The idea is that through gaming, you can actually observe, understand, and maybe even attain the Tao. To really ground this philosophical idea, the text points to a very specific, honestly bizarre phenomenon observed in that poker game, Struggling Upstream. So in this game, there's a designated upstream player. And according to the author's observations, there is an unwritten rule governing the most powerful cards in the deck, the jokers. It turns out, regardless of how thoroughly you shuffle and deal those cards, there seems to be this overwhelming 80% chance that the joker cards will end up right in the hands of the upstream player. It's almost like the universe is actively showcasing their nobility or status in the game. It's this mysterious natural flow, where the high cards just naturally gravitate to that one specific position.
Now, as rational, modern thinkers, our immediate reaction is probably, okay, well, let's test it, right? If this natural tendency really exists, shouldn't we be able to gather a group of people, play the game, diligently track every single hand, collect the data, and just definitively prove this 80% rule? If the Tao is operating, surely we can measure it with a spreadsheet, right? Can we actually come up with a convincing, scientifically sound percentage to prove this nobility effect for the upstream player once and for all?
Now, what's really interesting here is that you might expect the answer to be yes, but the author argues the exact opposite. The answer is actually no. And the reason why brings us to this incredible, unexpected bridge between a simple card game and high-level quantum physics. The text introduces the observer effect. If you're not familiar, this is a very real principle in quantum mechanics, which states that the mere act of observing, measuring, or interfering with a phenomenon fundamentally alters how that phenomenon manifests. Basically, you cannot passively observe the quantum world. Your conscious attention literally changes the reality of what is happening. To explain this, the author points to the famous wave-particle duality of light, which is, for sure, one of the most mind-bending concepts in all of science. Here's how it works. When there's no one observing or measuring the light, it behaves as a wave. Think of it like a spread-out field of probabilities. But the very moment an observer is present, the moment we consciously try to measure it, the light collapses and behaves like a solid, defined particle. The essential nature of the photon depends entirely on whether or not a conscious human is watching it. Crazy, right?
And this brilliantly illustrates how the author maps quantum mechanics directly back to our poker game. If everyone at the table is just, playing naturally, having fun, without consciously tracking the statistics, the Tao operates smoothly, and those jokers naturally flow right to the upstream player. But, and here's the kicker, if someone decides to consciously count, keep track, and assert their desire to measure that outcome, the entire system collapses into a totally different state. The text notes that under conscious observation, it's highly probable the jokers will unexpectedly go to a player in the middle position instead. Consciously wanting to measure the outcome actually changes it to the complete opposite state.
I really want to pause here for a second so we can absorb the sheer magnitude of this question. Does the operation of the Tao, the universal spiritual law of literally everything, have the exact same characteristics as the manifestation of microscopic quantum particles? It is a massive concept to wrap your head around. Quantum mechanics tells us that human consciousness interferes with reality at the subatomic level. So the author is asking, does human consciousness also interfere with the natural spiritual flow of our everyday lives?
Let's see how this builds using a more relatable, natural analogy. Because, let's face it, quantum physics is complex, so the author looks for clues in the natural world to really understand this paradox. The text brings up a classic Chinese proverb: intentionally planting flowers, they do not bloom; unintentionally planting willows, they grow in abundance. It is such a beautiful, vivid way of visualizing exactly how human effort interacts with the natural world.
The text highlights a totally crucial dynamic here. It says, intentionally planting flowers involves too many human factors, so they do not bloom. Unintentionally planting willows lacks human influence, so they grow luxuriantly. Much like the scientist whose observation collapses the quantum wave, or the poker player whose counting completely disrupts the flow of the cards, human interference disrupts nature. When we try too hard, when we force our will onto those flowers, they die. But when we just toss a willow branch aside without even a second thought, completely lacking human influence or desire, it completely thrives.
So, now the author zooms out from the micro level of poker and gardening to the macro level of our entire existence. Think about it. If our conscious observation changes reality to its opposite state, what does that mean for everything we think we know? The text drops a massive philosophical bombshell here. It suggests that the history we learn from books might actually be the exact opposite of true history. And taking it even further, everything we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, your entire sensory experience might be completely fake or illusory. Why? Because we're constantly observing it through the lens of our own human desires, fundamentally altering the very reality you're trying to perceive every single day.
So, the crucial point is really the core problem identified in the text. The author states, human conscious and desirous effort might be with the ideal exactly opposite. Basically, by trying so hard to achieve a goal, by asserting our human will and our desperate desires onto the world, we are actively preventing ourselves from reaching our ideal state. Just like wanting to measure the cards ruins the natural deal, wanting to tightly control your life ruins the natural flow of the Tao. And here we find the ultimate solution offered by the source material. Living mindlessly might most align with the Tao's operation and easiest to attain Tao. Now wait, mindlessly here doesn't mean being foolish or reckless. Actually, scratch that. It's more like living without the heavy burden of conscious calculation. It's about not forcing your will, not constantly trying to measure and control every single outcome. Think about it. How often do our absolute best ideas come to us in the shower, right when we've stopped trying to force a solution? It means releasing that tight grip, living out your true nature, simply and authentically, and just allowing yourself to effortlessly unite with the natural operation of the universe.
As we wrap up this explainer, just look at the incredible journey we've taken today. We literally started at a simple card table, uncovered how our conscious desire to measure alters reality at the quantum level, and arrived at a profoundly deep spiritual truth, that letting go of human interference and living mindlessly is the truest path to aligning with the Tao. I mean, it is just a stunning bridge between the everyday, the highly scientific, and the deeply spiritual.
But the author doesn't stop there. The text we explored today actually ends on a massive cliffhanger. Based on this mind-bending analysis, that our consciousness alters reality and our senses might be a total illusion, the author states they are going to propose 5 hypotheses about the fundamental nature of the universe. But the source text provided cuts off right there. No way, right? So I want to leave you with this really provocative thought. If everything you consciously try to grasp slips away and reality is altered just by you looking at it, what do you think those 5 hypotheses about our existence could possibly be? Think about that the next time you shuffle a deck of cards. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.